Okay, this is Lando Wilson, and in this video I want to talk about an incident that happened in the United States recently in Colorado, where Venezuelan gang members went in and took over an apartment complex. You know what, this is something which is been predicted for a long time, and it's a major threat to the United States, where the US has been infiltrated by Latin American gangs, be it MS-13 or the Venezuelan gangs, and they're going to be causing major problems. Now, I'm sure some of you will be saying, why is a foreigner like me, a British guy, commenting on US politics, etc., and issues within the United States? You know what, I lived in the United States for a long time. I've had American companies, I've employed Americans, and I still pay taxes there. So the fact my tax money is going to sponsor a lot of this shit show, then I'll give my opinion. Now, what a lot of people don't realize about these Latin gangs, especially the Venezuelans, they're very, very organized. They're very organized and they're very ruthless. The Venezuelans have been sending their criminals north now into the United States for the last couple of years. Within Venezuela, the gangs are, a lot of times, they work for military intelligence, they work for the intelligence services. They're the government's enforcers. They do the dirty work for the Venezuelan government. If they want people got rid of, they talk to the gang members and they do it for favors, etc., etc. Now, why has Venezuela been sending its gang members north? From what I see, well, anybody can see it if they look, Venezuela's become a major drug hub. A lot of the drugs coming out of Latin America are going into Venezuela and being distributed, heading north or heading into Europe, heading into Africa from Venezuela. So the Venezuelans are controlling a lot of the drug market. So if they're controlling the drugs that's coming out of Latin America, why not control the distribution in the largest drugs market in the world, illegal drugs market in the world, which is the United States? So I take it they're pushing their gang members north so they can take over the distribution of the illegal narcotics in the United States. For that they need territory. So this is where now they're starting to take territory and take control. Now, these gang members are a major threat. Why? As I said, they're organized, they're trained to some extent, and they're very, very aggressive. Many years ago, I remember seeing a report many years ago that MS-13 within, I think it might have been Maryland, Baltimore, etc., MS-13 gang members were picked up and they'd been doing surveillance on the police, etc., etc. You know what? These Latin gang members, be it MS-13, and especially the Venezuelans, do not fear law enforcement. They will be targeting US law enforcement. And this is something that US law enforcement, from what I see, is not used to. In a lot of places, if you join the police, you can take it for granted. You can take it for granted that the criminals will be targeting you, especially in Latin America. I think within the areas where these gang members are prevalent, law enforcement needs to be extremely careful, because they'll be coming after law enforcement to look the other way, to do them favors, to buy them off, to work for them, etc. And I'm sure there's a lot of American cops saying, oh, this wouldn't happen in America. You know what? Gang members taking over territory in America isn't going to happen in America, right? You know what? It's just fucking happened. So I think US law enforcement needs to up its game, especially when dealing with these criminals. How can you deal with them? Well, how the Latins deal with them is, look what happened in El Salvador. They just round them up and threw them in prison for life. They got them out of society. That's one option. The other option is to shoot them. That's it. These people, these criminals, these gang members are gang members for life. All they know is the gang. And you know what? They do not fear law enforcement. If they die for the gang, it's a big thing for them. If they end up killing cops, it's street cred for them. It's the nastier they are, the more the better their street cred. So again, these guys are going to cause a major issue for US law enforcement, and the only way to deal with them is round them up and throw them in jail for life, or to get rid of them. Now, you know what, in some ways I can see US law enforcement actually in a lot of places dealing with the threat from these guys. I think one of the issues of dealing with them, these guys and girls, one of the issues with dealing with these gang members legally is I expect a lot of them are in the US claiming asylum, which in some states will mean they have more rights than US citizens. But you know what, in a lot of ways I have more faith in US law enforcement actually upping their game to deal with these criminals, because I think in some ways a lot of US law enforcement still see it that they're protecting their communities, protecting their people, working for their country, etc. Whereas you look at law enforcement in Europe, especially United Kingdom, they're nothing more than enforcers for their government's radical globalist policies. So I think the fact these Venezuelans have gone in and started to take over territory in the United States is a major red flag for US law enforcement. And you know what? The only way to deal with these gangbangers is they have to be dealt with hard. Very, very hard. Because it's the only thing they respect. And if they're not dealt with very, very quickly, the cancer will spread and it will be a lot more difficult to eradicate the problem. And these guys and girls are a problem that needs to be eradicated very, very quickly. So just my opinion on something, and I hope these issues can be solved quickly, because if not, it's going to be major, major problems for US law enforcement and the innocent people in the United States that just want to get on with their lives. You don't want to be living in communities where all of a sudden you got gang members turning up, and then you're going to get the extortion, etc., 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 and it's going to be a mess. So just my opinion. So follow me along on social media. I have a lot more of these videos up there and a lot more videos on my opinions. I have an array of books up on Amazon that talk about various aspects of the close protection business. I have a book up especially to do with counterinsurgency that talks about how to deal with groups such as these Latin American gangbangers. And that book was finished recently because this problem has been predicted for a while. We predicted it for a while. So check out my book, that's Counterinsurgency, on Amazon. Follow me along on social media. I prefer X these days. And if you've got any relevant questions, please feel free to reach out. But in the meantime, be good, stay safe, and stay out of trouble. And if you're in these areas, if you're law enforcement, security, or you're living in areas where these Latin gangs are beginning to become active, be very, very careful. Very careful. As I say, as always, be good, stay safe, and stay out of trouble.